I'm live, apparently. Hang on. Better? Yeah. Okay. Had some trouble with my Six of Swords. Anyway, Six of Swords today. Yeah. Had some trouble with it earlier, so I just thought I'd try this live business again with things in order. So hopefully, I don't have a very good webcam, obviously, so all the better not to see me well, I guess. Okay, so Six of Wands, sorry. Six of Swords is it's a lovely card, actually. It's about transition. It's always a transition. It's always movement. It's always I guess change, but for the better, always. Yeah, it doesn't matter where it lies in the spread. It doesn't matter about the accompanying cards. It always means change for the better, always. And that's something to really note with this card. It's planetary associations and astrological Mercury in Aquarius. So when we consider that Aquarius is an extremely it's an air sign, and it's a very intellectual sign. It's very lofty intellectual sign, and Mercury. Well, I really like that planetary alignment. Actually, it's very. I mean, just think about it. I mean, temperature, the thermometers, they use mercury because of their ability to adapt and change. So they can really see two sides of the story. They're constantly. A mercurial mind is a wonderful thing to behold. Very adaptive, extremely adaptive. So when we consider Aquarius, the water bearer. Now, bear this in mind. When I think of Aquarius, I think of the star, which is Aquarian, one of the major arcanas in the tarot. And she's known as the water bearer, although not literally in tarot, but Aquarius is known as the water bearer. So they are the intellectual, I guess, should have thought this out a bit more before I started down this track, I think. The intellectual exploration of the water, which is emotion, but they don't get their feet wet. That's a glorious thing about Aquarius. They'll never get their feet wet. They won't touch emotion. They're too lofty with their intellectualism, but they are the water bearer. So usually that means that what that implies is that people will come to them and they will give them the knowledge that they seek, but without ever getting their feet wet. Where I was going with that is the lovely thing about the Six of Swords is that six is known in the Kabbalah as the Tiphereth or Tifereth. I might not be pronouncing that right, but it's right in the middle of the tree. And it's quite literally right on the tipping point. It is the equator, so to speak, of the below. As above, so below. And this is the tipping point. And what happens with the Six of Swords is it is that tipping point of emotion and intellectual where it finds that perfect balance and perfect harmony, where they speak to one another. Hallelujah. And there's that insight, that clarity, that moment of complete clarity. And that'll affect your mindset. It'll affect everything moving forward. Yeah, it's a beautiful card, actually. So with sixes being, it's brief. All sixes are brief. Fleeting, I think, is probably a better word. That they're definitely a six is known as the second celebration number, and they're definitely they are a celebration. I mean, after the five, goodness, we we need the six, and it is deserved of celebration in any suit. It wouldn't matter, but particularly in the Six of Swords, it's known as science. Crowley, actually, in the Crowley Thoth deck, he calls it science because it is just that perfect harmony. It's yeah, it's hard to put into words. I love tarot, goodness, but I dislike sometimes how sometimes that it's very hard to convey the actual, I don't know, the feeling as well as the so much. Anyway, now with Aquarius being the water bearer, we'll start with the Rider-Waite, and this will illustrate what I'm about to say. But yeah, I've got a few from different decks to show you, so we can see some different interpretations. How are we going? Got a bit of glare, haven't we? There we go. That's the Six of Swords in the Rider-Waite. And as we can see, we're in we're in a boat. This implies assistance too. And the fact that it's masculine shows that conscious. And the water, he's moving through the waters, steering through. And this is the connection here. Yeah, subconscious, conscious, connecting. Yeah. Now, we've got it's usually referred to as like a mother and a child. They're huddled in the boat, looking down forward, whatever. Now we've got the Six of Swords, and they're in suspension there while they cross those troubled waters. Now, and that's important too. They're going to calmer waters. See how we got the choppy waters here, troubled waters, calm waters, and a peaceful land or whatever's happening up there, but it's peaceful, whatever it is. So leaving behind the choppy waters, calm waters. Connection, subconscious, conscious. It's what I was trying to say before. Aquarius being the water bearer. In this moment, we have science in that we have the sword suspended, meeting with the water in perfect harmony. And it's fleeting, but the good that will come from it's like those flashes of insight or those aha moments. When head and heart are working in conjunction and talking to one another, look at the good that can come. It's such a troubled, start that again, sorry, a troubled suit, swords. It's It's when our thinking is wrong, basically. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and this is just a recent ponderance of mine. Swords are conflict in general, conflict with others, internal conflict. Thank goodness, a lot of times with swords, your worst enemy is yourself. Well, a lot of times anyway, really. It's gone wrong. It's when it's your stinking thinking and your internal dialogue, your thought. You're not manifesting anything good, unfortunately. And this swords is the step prior to pentacles, the manifestation. This is the hiccup, the swords. Yeah, it's the, but I mean, if you look at it in a positive fashion, swords are the perfecting of that thinking in order to get the. I mean, some people are smarter, but for me, I've got to learn from my mistakes, unfortunately, and that's what the swords it's about. It's about correcting those thinking patterns, acknowledging them, and this is a big thing too with the six of swords. The flash of insight, the emotion, head connecting and deciding to cooperate with one another. It's also acknowledging. See, they're moving to a different, moving on to something better anyway, no matter what. But in order to do that, in any stage, it doesn't matter what's going on. You can actually apply this in any scenario. In order to move from something that's not great or outright bad a lot of times, you have to acknowledge it. You have to acknowledge that it's not great in order to make decisions and steps to move on, to move to something better. It's just the acknowledgement often. So here we are. Well, it's, yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of other things associated with this card. Obvious ones because in the boat and everything. I mean, it's known as a refugee card, and for obvious reasons. And even that's moving on to something better, isn't it? Refugee, war-torn country, or whatever the circumstance. Travel, boat travel, long distance travel overseas. What else? I've had some funny ones. Boat travel, just travel in general. Cruises. I mean, tarot can be, just extremely literal sometimes. And in hindsight, humorously so, but usually it's more annoying, I think, when it does. But that's just my personal thoughts. What else do I want to say? Kind of jumped on here to see if it would work. It's weird because it'll only do live on this laptop with like bad webcam and everything. Not great webcam. But I won't do it on my phone. It's funny that, isn't it? So yeah, all right. YouTube. All right. What else would I say? Oh, heaps, but not with this one. So that's the Rider-Waite example. Moving away from trouble, clearer thinking. Right. Actually, this doesn't really. This is my new Wonderland deck, but actually, this doesn't add anything further. It's just show you the image anyway. They've chosen to put Alice in a same thing, a canoe or something, and in this deck, the flamingos represent the swords. I haven't pondered that too far, but I will now. It seems a bit strange, although if you've seen that and read the books and seen it, they're quite troublesome, the flamingos. They're not cooperative, so it does make sense, I guess. Yeah, so I think there's, let me have a look. Yes, there's nothing. I just want to show it because my new deck. Down here, I don't think you can see. There's an awful glare. It's very hard to show them on here. I think. Oh yeah, you can see. It is troubled water down there, and it's obviously the calmer water up there. So it's just the basics. I don't think there's anything. Yeah, she looked at it more. Sorry, but it's just the basic. It's in their interpretation of the Rider-Waite. I don't think there's anything new packed in this card. What else we got? Crowley Thoth. This one's called Science. Now this card, as with all Crowley Thoth, very hard. I'll stop saying that and just get to it. Okay. Anyway, it says Science down there. I don't think you can read that, but it. All of Thoth, all of the deck is very, it's highly esoteric. All of the images archetypal. Like a lot of the images, some of them are even lost on me. I think colors are most important in the Thoth deck when you see the colors. And colors speak to me more than some of the images. But anyway, it's important to note with this interpretation, and he calls it Science, as I said, that with these swords, and they're perfect, it's a perfect hexagram there, and it's all very symmetrical with the cross in the middle. And that just shows the, I had the word. Anyway, I'll continue. That clearly it's important to note with these swords with the handles, it's probably not the correct terminology, but that they're ornamental. So this is just a very peaceful, 6 swords at peace, I guess. That's gonna bug me now. Anyway, moving on. The cross in the middle is important because it does show the oh, as soon as I say goodbye, I'll remember what the word I'm trying to think of. But anyway, yeah. So it calls it Science, and again, that it's science in that it's that clear thinking when emotion and thoughts combine, and the balance and the fleeting, the fleetingness. All right. All right. Why is that dog barking? Actually, that's strange. All right. Yeah. Now, the last card I'm going to show you, I mean, I've got heaps of them, but this is the last one I'm going to show you. I'll try and show you again. This is the pagan. It's the pagan cat's tarot by La Scarabeo, and it's. I do love the deck, I really do, but I use it quite sparingly because it's hardcore. Like it really has some different layers to a lot of the, really, and it doesn't, it's I mean, tarot I don't think messes around anyway. Like it's pretty straight to the point. But this deck, it really doesn't mess around. Like it'll all of its interpretations will show you a different element to every card. Even the cards that I love, that I would say, oh, there's nothing negative in that. Yeah, it makes you think, and I mean, you have to celebrate that. Sometimes I just use it quite sparingly because it's just not always what you can't always handle it. But yeah. Anyway, so this is our interpretation of the Six of Swords, and it's same old, isn't it? Like, I mean, they're in the boat. We've got the six suspended swords. Right, and right. It's important. The difference is we do at least have the calm very vaguely in that. Oh, goodness, it's hard to see anything, isn't it? I know, I said I'd stop saying that. So up here, at least we do have the calm of peaceful land. It is, we can see it on the horizon. Now, it looks like the dodgiest boat we've seen so far, but anyway, they're getting there. Actually, no, they seem to be on a bridge. Oh, bridge over troubled water. Okay. I just noticed that, although I have seen it before, but yeah. Okay, so they're on a bridge, like in a little cart thing. Oh, because cats hate water, yeah. That's funny. Yes, I'm slow. Anyway, the part that gets me about this card, yeah, I was about to say all the water's troubled, but that's okay. They're on a bridge, but the big difference is this guy. Look at this guy. So in the other cards, we see the mother and the child, we assume. Oh no, only one in the right away. I think Alice might have a kid there. I don't know. I'm making that up. But all right. In heaps of other decks, it's always just that interpretation: the mother and the kid, and it's assumed to be a boy anyway. I don't know why. Swords, it's a masculine card. That's all. But they're always looking forward. They're always looking down. You can't see their faces usually in those cards. This kitten staring straight at us. Oh, she's looking back too. The mother's looking back as well. Not at us, at least. No, it's almost accusing. Yeah, she's not looking forward either. Yeah, that's it's always freaked me out, actually. It's just a very interesting note. Because swords is associated with thinking, obviously, and Six of Swords is a transition and a moving on to something better. It often has to do with new state of thinking. It's simply just finally having an outlet, or sometimes when you're in bad situations, those situations in itself and your emotions, negative emotions, will block your thinking, and you can't actually think outside the square to get yourself out of the damn situation. So the fact that they've connected emotion and, they've decided to communicate with one another and pass on essential information, even if it's for like, goodness, 5-10 seconds, essential information, and that moment, the aha moment, will lead you on to a better mode of thinking. So even if it's just, well, I shouldn't say even if it's just, I mean, it's golden, actually. This new state of thinking will be key in your future. I mean, it always is. Thoughts dictate your reality. I can't say it enough. I really can't. I say it and say it and say it. And maybe I'm trying to make myself believe it, but it really does. It dictates your reality. And the swords, as I said, the testing suit, so filled with strife. And sometimes you're almost getting it. You're almost manifesting it, and there's something falls short. And I can assure you, it always has to do with your internal dialogue and your thoughts. Maybe you don't feel like you're worth it. Maybe you don't, whatever. But anyway, that's another. I could go on with that. Now, with this particular interpretation, especially when we're talking about moving on to different ways of thinking that will change your life, okay? This guy and the mother having to turn around, although she seems to be just generally looking, I'm not sure. Anyway, I take this to mean, and it's especially important with the emotional and intellectual connection of healing, that healing moment, or at least a clarity moment that will lead to healing. Okay, childhood trauma. I see in this deck, especially childhood trauma. So this is acknowledging it, having that connection, possibly, yeah, because when head and heart combines, no matter how briefly, and they talk to one another, it's that acknowledgement of the trauma, of the emotion. You need to acknowledge it. You need to acknowledge anything in order to be able to move on from it. And in this card in particular, that's a very unique Six of Swords. I get it, but in this deck, definitely. If not, if that doesn't apply, it always interplay. It would depend on the other cards and whatnot. But then it would be just because we're talking about with the child looking back here, inner child. Now, wounding that happens when you're in your initial programming, that's inner child wounding, and that'll be childish stuff coming out because you haven't dealt with them. Or if you haven't dealt with them, then obviously that will come out. So it's looking at these things. So if it's not childhood trauma, then it's just childish shit or childish emotions, or just even unhelpful unhelpful emotions, because again, they have to be acknowledged and looked at. So you need to let your inner child out, have a look at them. Sometimes they're so traumatic that you can't do that. But at this place, in this peaceful space, that has happened. We've had a look at an intellectual level. See, that's goodness. I think I've just opened a can of worms. Childhood trauma is based on emotion, and it's not really based on intellectualism. Sorry, I got interrupted there. Childhood trauma is based on emotion, and often that is just, it's not backed up by rational intellectualization. So when we can open up any emotion, childhood emotion that is holding us back, and I call that loosely trauma, but it doesn't have to be trauma. I mean, it doesn't have to be that dramatic. It can just be an association that you've held since childhood that is an emotion that you haven't explored, but it's holding you back, right? When we open that up with distance, having that a little bit of distance, so we're not in the emotion, we can look at it and explore it intellectually. We can often invalidate them. We can invalidate this unhealthy association, emotional association that we've had, because It doesn't make any sense. And especially when it's adults' words can be very wounding when we're children, and we're not intellectual. We don't understand what's behind them. But when we open them back up, and we can hold them, and they will really impact our lives. Like those programming years are so important. But when we, as adults, well, I guess some people don't have to do that as adults, but okay, didn't put out myself. I didn't actually plan to go into this. I just unpacked a can of worms myself. Okay, when we as adults realize that something is hindering, especially emotions, withheld emotions, unhealthy emotions, just emotions that we are letting rule us without even exploring them and what's behind them, they can control you. And I might note, when people see that you might be ruled by these emotions and things, that means other people can control you. It leaves you open to manipulation as well. Heavy stuff. Unexplored emotions and emotions that are ruling you means that anyone can rule you if an emotion can rule you. So here we have, well, we're celebrating basically because we're moving on. But the fact that we're acknowledging it and exploring it intellectually, when we have those fleeting 6 moments of insight, clarity, it doesn't matter how quick it is. That clarity is so clear that it's enough to make changes, to move on, to move on with clarity. And it'll always be better. A new state, a higher vibration, because that's what, I mean, a lot of these spiritual terms sometimes are bandied around and they lose meaning, and vibration seems to be one that's that really latched on frequency. There's a couple of others. When we consider that our thoughts dictate our reality, sorry. When we consider that our thoughts dictate our reality, if we're filtering out those negative thoughts, if we have filtered out anything negative, really, and our thought processes are much more cleansed. That we've filtered out those, negative, nasty confidence sappers, all that nasty stuff. I could go on and on. The more we do that, just our new thought processes is a high vibration. It lifts our perception, it lifts our reality. Where our thoughts go, emotions flow, and that's the way it should be. Now, when emotions rule us, then we have spirit leading. Actually, no, I won't. And that is a whole nother can of worms. I'm not going to go there. But focus on the thoughts. Definitely focus on thoughts, especially. And this is why 6 of Swords, especially in this suit of thoughts and of struggle and whatnot. 6, having this reprieve, and especially with this. I welcome anybody's thoughts on it. Actually, I haven't really discussed it. That's my take with this particular deck. It's supposed to freak me out. I was like, what the hell is the kid looking at me? What's he? But I actually think it's addressing your inner child, basically. Letting your inner child have a chat, opening it up, and instead of letting your inner child run the show emotionally and just not even intellectualizing it or questioning it. This is actually, yeah, you've let your inner child talk to you. What's going on? Why are you acting that way? That's crazy. Rationalize it. Having a conversation with your inner child. I mean, it's important. It'll lead to a new. And we should be seeing this card quite a bit. It's not just a one-off. Woohoo! Off we go, smooth sailing. Childhood traumas are fixed or whatever. New stuff comes to hand all the time. We've got new crap that's on top of the old crap that we build. New stuff comes to light all the time. Only when we can handle it, by the way. Only when we can handle it. But this... Otherwise, if it's not that deep and heavy, it depends on the cards around it. But sometimes it's just, the inner child, who usually, this is the guy in life when shit's going down. It's like, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know about it. So then this card would mean, with the transition to better stuff, it would just mean to me that it's being acknowledged. The crap's being acknowledged so that you can move on. Anything bad has to be acknowledged before it can be looked at, and changes can be implemented, all of that stuff. So if it's not about childhood trauma, then it's just about acknowledging whatever bad stuff and then moving on. Yeah. Pagan Cats Tarot. Yeah. Interesting deck. I really only break it out for the heavy stuff, like especially if I'm doing a friend or foe, upon first meeting people, or you know what I mean. Friend or foe, I break out the Pagan Cats, because I tell you what, it doesn't mess around. It'll tell you. It really will. Okay. I kind of was just, because I couldn't do the live stream on my phone, so I thought, well, I think I can do it on my computer. So I wasn't really prepared. Organized always. That should be my motto, I think. 6 is a Venus. It's ruled by Venus. So it's all about beauty, and it's all about balance, harmony. Number 6. But it's short-lived. Always short-lived. Yeah, actually, I just thought of that too. I think of Venus, it's beauty, but it's always, it's not true beauty in my opinion. It's, think of Libra, think of Aquarius, think of artisans, think of the Empress, all of that stuff. It's all about skin deep beauty. It's all about femininity, easy for me to say, femininity, fertility, all that sort of stuff. And all of that stuff is associated with beauty of the outside. And so it's great that it's actually the ruler of the number 6, and Venus in general, because it is fleeting, isn't it? It's vanity. And it's vanity, and it is fleeting. I think that's important to remember. And a lot of the 6s, like that 6 of Wands, in the spiritual, in the fire suit, which I think, well, mostly ego and spirit and energy and individual self, who you are really, which is ego. So the Six of Wands, oh my goodness, it can just be ego, really. It can be an ego vainglorious celebration, but it depends because you've got to see the surrounding cards. It's lovely if it is a true celebration because it's hard earned after the Five of Wands. If you've turned to spirit, if you're doing things correctly, anyway. And then we've got the Six of Cups, which mostly deals with lovely nostalgia. And again, if you think about nostalgia, it's so like a certain a smell might, incite a memory. I know who said we're trying to reconnect you, and then it is. Oh, that's just staring. Oh, yeah. So the Six of Cups associated with nostalgia. Again, nostalgia. It's fleeting. It's a memory. It sweeps across you, and you just have those feel goods, or not. But it's very fleeting, and it's almost wistful. Almost, you almost have it, then you don't grab it. Yeah, all sixes are like that, and I think that's the same with beauty as such, or what Venus beauty anyway. Hmm, hmm. Yeah, Six of Pentacles. Actually, that's what. Oh yeah, it's the equilibrium. See, it's still talking about just it's on the tipping. It's right on that tipping of give and take, give and take. You don't know, but you get that peep, you get that insight all of a sudden. Oh, it really isn't balanced, it'll expose that card, the Six of Pentacles, the give and take in a relationship and the inequality. Usually, it'll expose the inequality, or hmm, the motives, because a lot of people don't give because people need. They give to be seen to be giving, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so Six of Swords, good card, love it. I think we've explored it pretty thoroughly. I'll be doing the Ten of Swords next time. So it's transition, travel, moving on, moving off, moving away from bad times, new way of thinking, new mindset. I mean, lots of all the in-betweens of transition, really. It depends on the interplay and the cards around it, as always. So I think that'll do. And I have no idea. I hate to think because I think I've doubled up on things that I just wasn't prepared. I was just actually testing to see why it didn't work on my mobile. Done now? Okay.